Good morning, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Hello, everybody.
That time.
It's that time. It's that time. The last show of the year, and we are opening up Discord. If anyone wants to jump on and say g'day, the link is already in the live chat. The link is in the description to the video. It's the last live show of the year, and I'm just going to put myself into the Discord chat, and I'm going to open up the mic and make sure that it's working. I actually don't know if Discord's going to work or not. I can't actually see my mic going up and down. We'll see. It says it's voice connected. All right, we'll see what happens. So if you want to come and say g'day, you want to be a part of the chat in Discord, then the link is in the chat already. It's in the chat for YouTube. So if you're watching us somewhere else, you need to come to YouTube. Oh, I guess I could probably do that thing that I hate everybody doing that says all destinations. Yeah, I'll do that. Hang on. Discord link here, and I'll push in there. And now, no matter where you're watching us, you should probably get a message for the Discord link. There we go. It's going to Facebook, and it's going to Twitch, and it's going everywhere else. There we go. So we are. Oh, someone just said, "I hear you." Who said that? Peter. I hear you, Pat. Peter, are you listening to us in Discord? If you are, just confirm that for us, and that will be in there. So look, it's the last show of the year. We thought what we'd want to do is sort of wrap up the year with you guys. Give you a little bit of what's going on in the new year. We kind of teased last week that there might be a big announcement tonight. We can't make that announcement yet because the meetings haven't been finalized today. But
we're not able to seal the deal, Pat.
No, but let me just say, without giving away too much, because it's that idea. I watched what did I watch through this COVID period, Chewy? I watched We Crashed, documentary about WeWork, the startup, and I'm watching all these people thinking that they were going to get a big payout at the IPO and not getting it, and going off and spending money before they had it. And I've got this idea in business. There's this. I mean, this is part of the fictional story, but one of the people went out and bought a $30,000 purse, because there was going to be $1 million IPO, and then had to sell it because it never happened. I'm a big believer in business that you don't spend tomorrow's money. You don't even spend today's money. You spend yesterday's money that's already in the bank. I kind of feel the same about news and information to give out. I don't want to give you tomorrow's information in case it doesn't happen, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to launch some NFTs for $99 each. Yeah, that's where it came from. Wasn't that the most embarrassing thing you've ever seen in your life?
Oh my God, it was so good.
Let me just say this. Let me say this. We are talking to a sort of a mainstream media partner, and we're looking to partner with a group next year and keep doing what we're doing, and keep looking to you guys to be our crew and to be on, to be supporting us and to be our advocates and that kind of stuff. But we're talking to a mainstream media outlet. They sort of want to carry our stuff as well. So that's what the announcement would be if it can be confirmed. And the reason I'm sort of keeping it a little bit on the DL is because I don't talk about tomorrow's news. I don't spend tomorrow's money, don't talk about tomorrow's news. So I'm sorry I can't give you any more information than that, but that's what it is about us working with another group, which will hopefully magnify and amplify what we're doing. And I've got that meeting now on Wednesday morning. So if you follow me on Twitter, that's where you can, if it goes through officially, that's where I will announce it on Twitter, because we won't be having a show on Wednesday night. And if it's still, I'm pretty conservative when I come to announcements about this sort of thing. It's like until the ink's dry, I'm like that. But we'll see what happens this week. The meeting was supposed to be today. It didn't happen because of COVID, because it's all over the country and all over the businesses. And so it's booked in for Wednesday morning. So I'm sorry that I'm not, no, Peter, it's not Counterspin. I'm sorry that.
Well, I mean, it could be the hosts are a bit busy at the moment. Need someone to step in.
So yeah, so that was going to be the announcement potentially, but I was very clear to everybody that when there may or may not be, there's not going to be one officially. That's what the news will hopefully be later on in the week. When I know, you will know if you follow me on Twitter. That's how we'll figure it all out. But yes, so no big announcement, but now you know sort of what's been happening behind the scenes for the last wee while. And where that could go if it does happen, who knows? So we will wait and see about that. But anyway, the last show tonight, we are going to talk about one news story, which is a bit of fun, really, which is going to be Elon Musk is about to step down as the CEO of Twitter. We'll get to that shortly. Let me just say, though, as well, if you're watching, if you want to come on board and say g'day, say something for the last show, tell us about your biggest news story of the year, tell us what you I'm being a little bit presumptuous here, but enjoyed about BHN this year, then you can jump into Discord. They've already put the link in the chat. The link's in the description to the video as well. And if you want to go into Discord, what you need to do is get in there, jump into the waiting room, and then we can connect and have a chat with you. I'm a little bit concerned that Discord may not be working because normally when I look at Discord, I can see my voices going up and down, and I don't see it going up and down. So it may not be operational. But we'll give it a go if anyone wants to come on and have a bit of a chat. And if no one does, that's all good as well. We'll just move on. In fact, potentially what's going to happen is someone's going to want to come on and have a bit of a chat, and they're not going to be able to because there's something wrong with it because I've screwed it up as per usual. All right, I'll have a look actually while we're chatting as well, Chewy, because I think I can change the input device and let's see if the mic's working. I'll have a play of that while we're talking. But Chewy, I've been talking for 1,700 minutes. What do you want to add in at the moment to the last show? The other thing I'm going to say is I'm going to give you a whole bunch of facts and figures about what we've done this year. I've been and had a look at our YouTube numbers and all that kind of stuff as well. But Chewy, throw it to you, sir. What are you thinking on our last show?
Oh, look, I'm just watching this dumpster fire on Twitter. You know, I'm a Twitter tragic, and as much as I'd like to pull the pin on it and just fuck off somewhere else, it's kind of like watching a train crash in slow motion,
Right?
And I don't want to look away. You know, he's what I mean, just today, man. Or in the last 48 hours, he banned that kid for posting publicly available information of where his jet was.
Yeah.
And saying that was publicly doxing his every move, and then he backed that down. Twitter has said you can't post links or user handles for competing social media platforms, and has had to back that down because the EU pointed out that would be breaking their monopoly laws. Now he's got a poll up. Should he step down as CEO? And then has put a caveat on that. Careful what you wish for. And the only people that deserve power are the people that don't want it. And he's just getting slammed. Like, how can you post that after paying $44 billion?
So here's the poll.
To just get cyberbullied by everyone.
The poll says, should I step down as head of Twitter? I will abide by the results of this poll. I've been looking at this on and off through the afternoon. I looked at it first when it had 7 hours to go. It's now only got 2 hours left. So basically midnight tonight, New Zealand time, it'll be all over. When I looked at it this afternoon, it was 56% yes and 44% no. Now, 5 hours later, it's 57.4% say yes, you should, and 42.6% say no, you shouldn't. Now, I was thinking perhaps, all the right wingers out there who are worried about votes being stolen and dumps being made in the middle of the night. I am looking forward to all the bots turning up within the next 90 minutes that Elon was so concerned about, and all of a sudden the results flipping very quickly for some strange reason. And then all those same people who are worried about all the dumps of votes, of physical votes, are going to be like, no, there's nothing to see here. No, it's all good. There's no problem.
Look, you can rig this real easy. You just go to the yes column, you bring up a spreadsheet of everybody that voted yes, and you press delete all. You just delete all the accounts. And you're like, oh,
this is what you were talking about, though. Mr. Beast has brought it to people's attention who didn't know. So Mr. Beast has responded to this question of people. I'm sure most people know who Mr. Beast is. 105 million YouTube subscribers. We're second behind Mr. Beast. And
don't look into it.
his answer, don't look into it. Be an anti-vaxxer. Don't do the research. Just believe us. Mr. Beast has said the answer to should I step aside? He said, if you're going to keep doing stuff like this, then yes, with a sick emoji. And because at the moment, a violation on Twitter, as you were just saying, is you can't link to Facebook, Instagram, Mastodon, Truth Social, Tribal, Post, and Nostra. You can't link to any third-party social media links, aggregators such as Linktree and Linkbuy, which is weird. I think I've got my Linktree on mine, but then I've got basically no followers, so that's probably why it's gone under the radar. You can't follow me. You can't do this sort of thing. Follow me at username on Instagram, username at mastodon.social. Check out my profile on Facebook. You can't do any of that. So this is what he's trying to ban and block people from doing, and Mr. Beast is basically going, if you're doing, I mean, like, there are some people in the things responding to Mr. Beast saying, what? So now you multi-millionaire social media people can't, make more money. So what? But it's like, the truth is, this is this thin-skinned CEO saying, I don't want you to use other places, just use mine. Yeah. So in 2 hours' time, will he therefore step down? Chewy, you had a bit of a theory from before we came on to air. What were you thinking about this?
I believe he's already picked someone. Oh, the poll has told me, so I've had to make up my decision. He's already got someone lined up as CEO, and he can just step back, and it's someone he's already picked.
Right.
Like John T has pointed out in the chat that he's been pictured at the Football World Cup with Jared Kushner. So, I mean, Christ, do we then see a merger of an unholy alliance between what's left of Twitter and, say, Truth Social?
Yeah,
that'd be a waking nightmare.
I don't think Trump has done anything on Twitter, has he yet? I think it's almost like the first thing I've ever been impressed with Donald Trump. He's managed to, he got invited back. He got invited back, and Musk made such a big deal out of it. And actually, Trump. Okay, for Donald Trump to make someone else look like an idiot, that is saying something. And
yes,
Elon made a big song and dance about bringing Donald Trump back, and from a man who no one has ever seen be reserved, no one has ever seen, make a decision which wasn't self-grandiose and making himself say he's. This is going to sound strange, but he's been restrained, and Trump being restrained by ignoring his reallocation of all these followers has been another thing that's been incredibly embarrassing for Musk, and it's actually painted Trump in a positive light. Like Trump has come off with some cool points here, not like the desperate pile of crap he normally does come off with. So it's when those kinds of conversations are going on, you're like, what is this? What's happening in this world? Up is down and sideways is circular.
Oh, considering how many tweets Donald Trump used to love to hammer out on the toilet, and they had the State Department crawling around trying to make that official foreign policy. Like if he came back to Twitter, though, he'd be admitting that Truth Social wasn't working.
From a business point of view, like forget the who he is, but if you were a business and all of a sudden you got access to another 90 million customers, you'd be in it in a heartbeat. So there's got to be some restraint there as well from him. So I'm surprised, and kudos to him for making Musk look like an absolute clown.
Well, hang on. Now I deal with a lot of people, and older people especially, of Trump's generation a lot of the time.
What, 90-year-olds?
And technology and social media. And I think the whole reason that he's not back is he's forgot this password.
Quite possibly.
Maybe he made his Twitter password the name of his other daughter, and he's just forgotten what her name is.
Yeah.
It's definitely a chance of that.
Or maybe his own phone number. I mean, who remembers that these days?
Yeah.
So
Elon
Musk stepping down in 2 hours. 2 hours, he should be stepping down. I'm tempting
fate. I voted yes, so I'm definitely going to be on that elimination spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And I also did this. So that's my Mastodon, which is apparently a breach now, or is it because they deleted it after 2 hours? Who really knows?
Yeah.
But yes, We could all be here in the morning. Maybe Twitter will disappear in a cloud of smoke. Who knows?
I think it's really interesting. I think it's quite insightful what you've said actually about he's in. Well, I said he's engineering an exit based on what you said that he's already got it sorted out. I think that's probably quite a it's quite a smart way to do it. It's a way for him to then also go, oh look, if people wanted me to stay, I'd stay, but they don't, and democracy and rant. I'm going to move on, and then bring Jack Dorsey back in to run the whole thing all over again. Imagine that. It wouldn't surprise me actually.
Can we just talk about what a spectacular, like this? It's monumental how much of a fuck up this is for him. He had this almost baked in fan base that think he's like this tech auteur that was just, and he has done some amazing things. He made electric cars cool when they were never cool.
Yeah, for sure.
SpaceX is incredible. And I think the aim of getting back into space exploration is worthy. I mean, you can make arguments that he didn't invent Tesla and he didn't invent SpaceX. He just bought them. But he was on a roll of kind of being the cool Tony Stark type character. And now this has just shown him that he's got terrible judgment. He's got the thinnest skin in the world. And I just feel like every time he logs into Twitter, he's just thinking, why don't people like me?
Yeah.
I'm the cool tech guy. Why don't people like me? I don't understand it because he doesn't understand people.
I've never had a problem with him not being like the hands-on person inventing things, because neither was Steve Jobs. I mean, Steve Jobs, I don't know on day one what happened, but basically didn't write a line of code. But if it wasn't for Steve Jobs, Apple wouldn't exist. So I don't have a problem with a visionary. Visions are scary. Actually kind of driving other people. So I don't think that's a criticism of him. But what is a criticism of him is the idea that, as you say, he had so much, for want of a better word, social credit. I might be wrong with that, because there's going to be people pointing to him as a billionaire saying, all billionaires are evil at some level. But like you're saying, he made electric cars cool. He actually did more than that, because back at the start when his company made a new way of carrying the electricity through the cars, the new way of doing the battery power, giving more range. He then put all those plans basically on the internet. He gave that all away for nothing, so others could also mirror what he was doing, what his company was doing, for the betterment of electric cars. So he's actually responsible, his company's responsible for a whole bunch of advances in other electric car areas as well. When he was doing that, many people were looking up to him like he was something amazing. And then, I don't know, it's a bit like Dave Chappelle the other day bringing him on. It's like, I saw a commentary in the weekend saying, it's just an example of how much, and I like Dave Chappelle, and I like his comedy, and I think some of his stuff is really insightful. I think his last few specials have been different, but other stuff has been really insightful. But it seems to be that bringing him on stage like that is indicative of not reading the room being this society. Like Dave Chappelle not getting that this is not going to go well. And it seems the same with Musk, what he's done with Twitter. And you could argue with things like the tunnel that he put in Las Vegas, which was supposed to be amazing, is he hasn't read the room well either. So yeah, I mean, maybe when you get told so often that you're the golden child and you can do whatever you want, you then try and do whatever you want. And actually, most people are probably quite successful with a very small skill set. And they talk about in business going narrow and going deep, having like a skill or two and going deep with that to make, and whereas when you diversify and go too wide, you get caught out, and it seems to be what's been happening.
I think this is something. I mean, you mentioned a word, and I was like, yes, that's it. Visionaries are really important, but they're often backed up by the doers, the engineers, the people that build the thing.
Wozniak.
But the problem, Wozniak and Steve Jobs, Tesla and whoever he bought. You can look at say George Lucas or Peter Jackson in the film industry. I would count them in that. But there is a point where you're seen as such a visionary that you outpace people in your own head, and you just
Mhm.
go, I've done all of this. This is all me. I
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
cannot
yeah, yeah,
fail.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, and you get
Yeah,
high on your own
I've got the
supply, and
I've got the
you go
Midas
and buy
touch.
Twitter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got the
yeah,
Midas touch.
I
Whatever I
cannot
touch
buy
is
it.
going to turn to gold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if it doesn't, immediately I'm just going to bail. You know, and it's
and
not my fault.
and then on top of that as well, you've got the echo chamber around you of all these people telling you you're doing the right thing. And like, you know, at the moment, it's a whole bunch of, in America, right-wing pundits and stuff and commentators and podcasters and entertainers and saying he's the one to bring freedom of speech back and this kind of stuff, until he then starts doing things completely contrary to what his own level of, he said at the start of Twitter that if it was legal, it would be allowed. Now, did you know that this internet evil of doxing, right? The idea of doxing, we all think that's terrible, completely legal. Doxing someone is not illegal. There's no law against it, but we've decided in society that it's unacceptable and it's an internet crime, but it's not an actual crime. So when he says anything that's legal will be allowed, and then he goes and bans people and accounts for what he deems as doxing, which wasn't, and for what he deems as reporting on doxing, which wasn't, you know, you can very quickly see what is not available. Well, what he's not doing, what he's saying and what he's doing are two different things. He's getting caught out. He's getting, we're getting to see his undercarriage very clearly.
You can also say like, oh, if it's legal, that's fine. Cool. Under whose laws? You've got a global social media platform. Whose laws are you talking about when you say it's illegal? Are you talking about the Constitution? Are you talking about state law? Are you talking about the laws of the EU? You know, it's he could have bought this and just bought people that knew what to do in, and then just step back. But because he is such a shit poster and a meme lord, he's come in and think, I'm going to do this whole thing myself. Someone in the chat's pointed out, do we know that he's Asperger's, which is a phrase I don't like. But yes, I think it's pretty clear that Elon's on the spectrum. There's lots of people on the spectrum. I'm on the spectrum probably. But yeah, you need the right people around you. And
Yeah.
I think that inability to read the room and that feeling of I don't understand why people don't like me is definitely part of it. You look into his history. There's history of bullying and his upbringing. His family situation is fucking dreadful. His father seems to be the worst person in the world. You know, there's a lot of good that he's done, and his achievements are basically spectacular. And part of this is how quick it's crumbling in front of us. That's the spectacle of the whole thing.
Here's a very good piece of business advice for people. Not that I'm holding myself up as a good business person, but I read a lot and I watch a lot and I listen to a lot. One of the best pieces of advice as I've heard, and hopefully maybe 2023 we'll be able to think about this, is as soon as you can afford to, you hire your weaknesses. So when a business starts up, you know, we all have areas. Like one of my weaknesses is admin. Because of my dyslexia, the written word and information doesn't work for me. So, and I have done this once before. I've hired an admin person. I don't have that at the moment, but as soon as you can afford it, you hire your weaknesses. What he's doing is he's firing all his weaknesses, and then he's left there by himself to try and handle the things that are his weaknesses.
Like when I was in a position of responsibility in a previous job, that's exactly what I did. The other thing that I did when I was given my first store, right, and I knew that it was a shop that had problems and that there was going to have to be a lot of changes and that sort of thing, I came in and I did nothing for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I didn't touch anything. I didn't tell anybody how to do their job different. I just watched who was good at stuff, who was bad at stuff, who could be better at something else. What do I need to do, and give myself the chance to do the plan. Now, it's incredibly tempting to kick the door in and go, right, all of this changes. You're under my regime now. but you just piss people off and you lose everybody before you chance to really change things. And it just makes it so much harder. Now, here's me, a not billionaire, on a very different scale, but the rules are still the same. The practices are still the same. And I think he's come in, he spent a week thinking of that let that sink in joke.
Yeah.
And he sort of giggled away to himself, going, oh, that'd be really cool if I did that. And he's gone to a hardware store. He's bought it. Well, he sent someone to a hardware store and got them to buy a sink. And he's come in and filmed it.
Cool.
And then he's gone, right, everybody here is useless. And I've made up my mind and everybody can fuck off. And oh, why are people hating me for doing this? The guys I listened to on my Twitter page said that this would be great. The guys on Reddit said it would be a good idea. It's not.
It's actually sort of the billionaires version of my mum says I'm cool. You know, it's like it's the guys around me who never push back against me because I'm the billionaire. They all say I'm in the right. Well, of course they fucking do. So, look, that I was just talking about We Crashed. It's an Apple TV series. It's a story about a shared office space called WeWork. And it was at one stage valued at $47 billion. It's got like 10,000 people who are a part of it. It's in like 200 locations around the world. It's still active today. But if you want to see how a founder, and Elon Musk is not the founder, but he's the pseudo founder. You know, he's the founder of Twitter 2.0, put it that way. And how they can completely fuck it up through their arrogance and incompetence. Go and watch We Crashed and think about what Elon's doing at the moment and see if you can draw any parallels. Because, you know, someone who, so I read in the chat there, someone talked about he sniffed his shit for too long. Someone who don't think their shit stink, then they were like, I am the one, I have the answer, this is the way, I know what's best. And sometimes they do. I mean, you'd have to say, as much as it is an evil empire, those early days of Facebook, Zuckerberg had the idea and pushed it through. Not saying it's all good, but, you know, he had the vision to do it. Same as Jobs, probably. He was apparently a fairly big tyrant a lot of the time. But, you know, he would get into debates and arguments with people over the wrong font because he had a vision for it. Whereas, and so sometimes these people are also the ones who do drive it through to the success, and other times their arrogance and their self-importance and self-worth gets in the way of completing the job. And that, look, I don't know, but that's just what it feels like here. It feels like he thinks, you know, anything I touch turns to gold, and so whatever I do, this is going to turn to gold. And he's finding out that's not the case.
Yep. I mean, Scott here in the chat, by all accounts, he has minders at SpaceX whose sole job is to steer him into making good decisions, making decisions for him, and getting him to think he made those decisions. I believe that now. Now, that story has been doing the rounds for a while now, that people at SpaceX would just basically do their jobs, you know, work on their projects and their areas of responsibility, and then Elon would swoop in and just make these grand proclamations that they were pivoting, or they were all now working on this new job and that sort of thing. And it was just like people would go, yes, Elon, yep, okay, cool, we'll get on to that. And then he'd leave and they'd just keep on doing what they were doing. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, Ava's got the right idea though, because Ava's mum thinks she's cool as well. So that's good. Yep. I think that's a good way to
that's all you need. You don't need the approval of millions and millions of people on Twitter. You just need your mum to think that you're not a complete fuck up.
Yes. So look, this is probably also a time to transition. We're going to spend a little bit of time tonight just celebrating the year, and having a look at what it is. And Chewy, let's just ask this question as well, because I actually think for me, one of the more enjoyable stories, enjoyable meaning, not that did it bring me mirth? Not really. I don't want to see Twitter fail. I enjoy Twitter. You know, I don't want it to go anywhere. So it doesn't bring me happiness, but I have to say one of the big stories of the year for me this year probably was Elon Musk and Twitter. But I also thought probably it's not really a singular news story, but the way that the country has reacted to Labour post the Wellington protests, I think is probably the biggest topic. It's not one story because it's gone through, but the biggest topic of the year has been maybe the third iteration of COVID in the country, and you know, a lot of people being sick of it and saying, all right, we're over this now, stop holding us back. To me, that was probably the biggest news issue of the year in New Zealand. What about you? Anything come to mind?
Oh, look, I one of the things we kept on coming back to was just COVID in general, right? Like we've we've massively changed. Like the government went from an absolute masterclass of communication and everybody's on the same page to fuck it, you're all on your own. Um, and I mean that's here we are in the midst of wave 3, and you've got the Prime Minister talking about our first post-COVID Christmas.
So
And
let
I
me just
just
put
want to
some, let me.
scream into my pillow.
If people haven't heard this yet, I'm sure you have. Modeler today, I think, saying that the period between Christmas and New Year's, they're expecting 1 in 20 New Zealanders to have COVID. That's 5% of the population. That's 250,000 people, right? I've got potentially 16 people at my house for Christmas Day. So that means one of them, and fuck, I'm still positive today, maybe it'll be me, is going to be COVID positive, statistically speaking, potentially 2 of them. So that's what's come out today. And I don't know about you, Chewy. I do know about you because you told me about some of the people that you're working with and sort of been called in because of it. It's everywhere. I probably know more people now that have got it than at the March peak. The numbers are all horseshit that are being listed because no one's really
no one's reporting. They reckon wastewater says it's like only 50% of people that are positive are reporting.
And the conversations at the moment that I'm having with my family.
It.
My family is coming down from Auckland to Dunedin to spend Christmas, and we're having real hard conversations on the phone. It's like there has been a question asked, should we not come? And the question's been asked because what happens if, I think 7 people are coming down. What happens if 3 of them catch COVID when they're in Dunedin for 4 days? Then what? It's like, fuck, I don't know. What are we going to do? So, well, I do know we're having these conversations to have planned. This is one of the things I was going to say to help you, help everybody is like, there seems to be 2 strains of thought. Pardon for the use of the word strains, probably the wrong word to use, of thought at the moment. The first is, let's just see what happens and ignore it. And the second is, let's cancel everything and lock down. And what I've been saying to people, including conversations with people that are coming to my place, is there is a middle ground. Like, what you value is what you will try and achieve. If you value Christmas Day with your whānau more than Saturday night just gone at the pub, then maybe this is the one weekend. I mean, it's already gone now, but the one weekend you could have not gone to the pub to try and not catch COVID, to try and keep yourself safer for next weekend. People who are flying internationally are typically starting to look after themselves a bit more for 2 weeks out from their flight because they're aware that if you catch it, what's going to happen? And I think the same can be said for the rest of this week. If you value Christmas Day with your family more than, things out there, then just take care. And I'm not saying don't do, because I haven't got one in my office, I often do, but masks at the moment are still the thing that's the best thing that will likely protect you from catching it out and about, because there are going to be people who miss out from their family because of it this year, and there are going to be big numbers of them. Or the flip side of that is there are going to be people who don't care about it and just go along for Christmas family lunch or whatever anyway, and then infect 8 other people at the dinner table, and then they'll have it the following week. And look, there's middle grounds in all of these things, of looking after yourself, taking sensible precautions, and still enjoying what you want to enjoy and still doing, not just locking yourself away in your tower.
Just have respect for other people and maybe think about someone that's more than yourself. To be honest, that would go a long way. Don't be a dick to someone that is trying not to catch it. I've noticed a change in attitude. Like, one of the reasons is not only is there an obvious uptick of this, so I've gone back to wearing masks at work and stuff like that. But I mean, my own personal situation is that my mother-in-law is coming over from the UK. She's just arrived in the country today. Now, we haven't seen her for over 2 years.
Right.
She's in her 70s. And I was just like, well, I'm gonna do what I can to not get it just before she gets here, And I remember all the shitty comments I used to get about masks back when they were required. You got all the conspiracy theory comments and the snide comments and that sort of thing. This time round, people see me wearing a mask, and the instant reaction is, "Oh, would you like me to wear one too?" It's it seems different, you know. And I've noticed that there are more people wearing masks. There's nowhere near enough people wearing masks.
Sorry, my little cough there. That's why I turned the mic off. Yeah, just so you know as well, it's day 12 for me, and I'm still COVID positive. So I'm going to get a PCR test tomorrow to see if it's going to be the same result on a PCR versus the rats. But where the government advice says, oh, you're allowed to leave after 7 days. But if you actually have a look at the research, that doesn't mean you necessarily should leave after 2 days. I've got an 82-year-old father coming down. Same things, Chewy. I mean, you know, he's had COVID, but, you know, 82-year-old got through it okay. Do we really want to risk giving it to him again? No. I mean, to be honest, it hasn't been too bad for my run because I was lucky enough to have a booster 3 weeks before I caught it. But I don't want to give it to my kids. I don't want them to pass it on to their mother. I don't want to, you know, it's like, just take the middle ground. If you're going to have a big family lunch, just rat in the morning. Just rat in the morning. Absolutely. Like we potentially are going to have 16 people here at my house on Christmas Day, and we've just said, just everybody rat before you come. That's it. Just rat before you come. Double check, because the reason you're ratting is actually for the other people. That's actually why you're doing it. And if we decide, if someone's, you know, got a positive result, I mean, you know, my place, Joey, they could possibly still come and sit on the deck and be, you know, away from us, but be a part of it. But if you rat and then explain to people that you've tested positive, then you give other people the choice. I've had this conversation with a few people about not telling people if they're positive. And I'm like, actually, we believe in autonomy of your body, yeah? And I know there'll be people watching right now who will be thinking about things like, you know, getting vaccines and that kind of stuff, autonomy of your body. Think about things like abortions and that kind of stuff. It goes with information as well. If you're positive, I want autonomy over my body. So I actually want to be able to make the decision whether I put myself around someone who's positive or not. And that's the appropriate thing to do. It doesn't mean I'm not going to put myself around you, especially because I'm going to have all the antibodies in the world because technically I've still got it right now, but I'll be over it by Christmas. But you need to give me autonomy. I'm going to give you autonomy to know that then you can make an informed decision about your health, because you know that I've tested positive or negative. So it's actually about that person as well being free to make their choice and you not making the choice for them. If I test positive, it's not appropriate for me to make a decision. If you're coming to my place, Joey, and I tested positive, it's not appropriate for me to make a decision for you to be around a positive person. That's your decision to make. So you need to know. So just test and then tell people, yeah, I'm clear. I'm not. We'll see.
I mean, I'm not going to highlight the comment because it's making me fucking angry, but there's someone in the chat at the moment going, oh my God, people get sick and die. Who cares? Real easy to answer. Their loved ones do.
Yeah.
Their friends and family, they care. Oh. And that's cool. If you want to roll the dice, be an asshole, that's fine. But don't think I'm gonna clap and applaud your bravery. You're being a cunt, and you're being a cunt 2 years into a pandemic when everybody's gone, hey, what you're doing is really cunty. We know it's boring. You know, we're all over it and frustrated. And I wish that everybody was on the same page and maybe the government had gone a little bit further and we tried a little bit harder, and that we had more boosters and that less people died and the world wasn't letting this thing mutate and carry on for 3+ years. But I'm not buying into all of these conspiracy theories because it's so dumb. You're all so dumb.
I think I've got beyond holding the government so responsible. I mean, I think they made a mistake going to orange, but ultimately it's everybody's individual decision. Because there were people making individual decisions when we were in red as well. I mean, yes, the government's kind of given them the right to make bad decisions now, and so they do. But actually, it's really about us looking after ourselves and looking after those around us. Now, I know that it's kind of changed a bit about the looking after other people, but like you've just said, and I've just said, elderly people coming through. I mean, even forget the elderly people. You know what I mean? I don't want people to miss out on Christmas lunch. I don't want to miss out on Christmas lunch, you know? So
my God, I'm looking at the weather report and going, like, if the weather's kind of shitty, people are having their Christmas lunches with their friends and family inside, and they're going from multiple houses. Yeah. Like, I want there to be good weather for two reasons. A, I want to crack out the barbecue, and it hasn't happened yet. And two, the pandemic reasons. But also, The barbecue. I haven't been able to have a barbecue this year, Pat. This is bullshit, and I hate it.
We were supposed to have one on Saturday night, and I cancelled on Friday, obviously, because we were still there. My barbecue right now.
I was
my
supposed
barbecue
to go to 3 barbecues last weekend.
All cancelled. My barbecue is actually sitting in the garage in its box because it's brand new, and I haven't even opened it yet, let alone not have one, Chewy. We were just talking about that's probably a job for us to do tomorrow. And the deck's still not finished because we've had COVID, but it's half to 2/3 finished. So there's enough room to put it out there. So we're going to put it out on the unfinished deck because there's enough room to have it. And I don't know whether it'll be a Christmas Day thing, but I have to then go get a bottle as well. I don't have a gas bottle yet. So that'll be happening in the next few days as well. Look, we started this conversation talking about the big news stories of the day, of the year. And I guess it has been the overarching story still. You know what I'm over, Chewy? I'm over people going, oh, can we just get on with life? Because it's like, I agree with the sentiment from the heart, but no one's told the fucking virus that. No one's told the virus that we just want to get on with life.
I hate that term as well. Can't we just get on with it? You are alive. You are getting on with life. This is what you're dealing with. I'm sure there's people in Ukraine under fucking rocket attack. They're still getting on with life. They still have to go to the supermarket. They still have to keep their kids entertained and educated and stuff like that. Like having to wear a mask when you've got that going on in the world and people are talking about, oh, this is horrible to live under this oppression.
Yeah.
Oh, really? The constant threat of rocket attack might be above that.
You've just
we're talking about that, and we're not even talking like as far as news stories of the year. Russia invading another country and teetering on a wider NATO ex-Soviet bloc conflict is just mental. The other day there was a fight between 2 nuclear armed powers, and it barely made the news at all. You had China and India arguing over a piece of the border at Tibet. And what I liked about that is they decided to start with shouting, finger pointing, and hitting each other with sticks, because you got to start low when the top weapon is nukes. But yeah, and everyone's talking about like China and Taiwan. Like it's just everything's tense, man. Everything's tense. But the cartoons are still on, so that's good.
Do you want to know? I've got here the top 10 stories from BHN this year, and this is not like a fucking David Letterman joke. I was like, these are the stories that had the most views out of BHN this year. So let's have a look at how the year's gone for us. So believe it or not, Chewy, check this out. Yeah, this is completely coincidental. There have been 210 weekdays since we started the show. Today makes it 211 because it's 210 plus Monday, 211. Of that 211 weekdays, there has been 7 public holidays, and I've taken 4 off from sickness. 7 plus 4 is
11.
11.
I didn't know we were going to be doing math, man.
7 plus 4 is 11, and this is the 211th show. That means I think this is the 200th show, 200th broadcast.
Oh, okay. Right. I'm with you now.
I think this is the 200th broadcast tonight because there's been 211. I've had 4 sick days, 2 when I got back from Auckland with the flu and 2 with COVID, and 7 public holidays, which we didn't work. So I'm 80% sure that tonight is actually the 200th episode.
Nice.
Now, some of those episodes were replays. When I was in Auckland, there was a few that were replays, but actual broadcast for the evening, I'm pretty sure that tonight is the 200th episode. If it's not the 200th, it's like the 198th or 199th. So let's just say it's the 200th. So, and what we've done on the YouTube channel, these are primarily YouTube channels, is close to 500 videos. If you incorporate all the clips that we've made and the episodes as well. in excess of 400 hours of video, 300 hours of show, and then the clips in there as well. So 400 hours. So you think about, like I often think about things like, 30-minute sitcoms. Friends, for example. Friends would be a 22-minute episode, 26 episodes in a season. 22 times 26, what's that going to be? 2020 is a 400. So that's like 500 minutes for a whole series of Friends. So that's what, 5, 6, 7 or 8 hours. We've probably done 300 hours of shows, and then put the clips on top, probably 400 to 500 hours of actual video, which probably equates to about 1,200 hours of work that we've put into the show this year. For that, we've got about 160,000 YouTube views. Now, I know for many people that's not a lot, but when you come in with zero, just on YouTube, we've had about 160,000 views. We've had about another 100,000 views on other platforms, on YouTube and Twitter and that kind of stuff altogether. So we've probably got 250,000 views over all the platforms in those episodes as well. We've gained about 500 subscribers on YouTube. And these are our top 10. I feel like we need to do it or something. These are the top 10 news stories from BHN. When I say news stories, they're not all necessarily news, but these are the most viewed news clips from BHN. Number one was actually one I did by myself, was the Will Smith slap from the Oscars. That's the most viewed, the most viewed clip from BHN this year, and that's because obviously I recorded that while the Oscars were still on, so that had just happened. I was watching it down here in the studio, and I recorded it and did a bit to it, and I actually put the bit out before the Oscars had finished. So obviously then people all over the world were Googling that. That's obviously why that's number one. Guy Williams versus Leo Malloy is number 2. Mike King on The Rock was number 3. Heather Duplessis Allen shitting on Izzy Cook was number 4. American commentator Nomiki Konst and the Sam Cedar fallout was number 5. Talking about escaping from Gloria Vale was number 6. Professor Robert Patman on Rishi Sunak was number 7. James Hake, the whole episode, that was number 8. Louise Wallace getting angry with fatties was number 9. There was actually another clip in there, but it was related to Izzy Cook, so I've kind of jumped that one to number 11 technically, but the 10th one is Byron Clark and the Disinformation Dozen. So they're the most viewed clips from BHN this year, of all the views. And the 3, okay, here's one for you. Maybe we should put this in the chat and then I'll give you a chance. Why don't we ask this question first to the chat? And then Chewy, you can respond to my list, and then we'll go to the chat, see if anyone responds. There are 3 names that are, what I did was I went to the YouTube channel and I had a look at all the thumbnails, because what normally happens is I make a thumbnail, and the thumbnail is a picture of the stories we're talking about. So it was quite an easy way to track through the things we've talked about most of all. There are 3 names that are the most mentioned or the most talked about people in BHN this year.
Ding, ding,
right?
ding.
There are two which dominate more than any others. And then there are several at another level, and there's one name that's a little bit higher than all of those. So people in the chat, before we get to it, Joe, you hold your tongue on that one. People in the chat, what are the 3 names? What are the 3 names that were the most talked about people, meaning stories involving them, for 2022 in BHN? Have a guess. Chewy, you can talk to me about my list, and then we'll tell you who the 3 names are. What are your thoughts?
So as far as the list goes, I can't believe that that's all in one year. It seems like was the parliamentary occupation, was that this year? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, we started.
Why
just
does
after
that feel like that's 2 years ago?
Yeah, we started just after that.
Like it's just mad. The sheer weight of topics that we've covered, the people that we've interviewed. Like, one of the things that I'm really happy about is that we gave experts time to explain things in a non-soundbite fashion. Like the people that we had on to talk about COVID response and research and that sort of thing, when would they have a chance to, in their own words, take time to explain something? Not only the technical aspects of stuff and what they were researching, but their own feelings about the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think what we did there is enormously valuable. No one else is doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and I love the fact that in a media space that is often really dominated by right-wing talking points, or at least being steered by the right wing, that we sort of, I mean, we tried it softly it to start with, going, oh, we'll take a middle ground and we'll pro and con it, and then we just went, well, that's not us.
No.
We're lefties. Let's talk from a lefty point of view, because nobody's doing it.
Yeah,
You know?
and look, I think for people who are just joining in now and didn't hear the non-announcement at the start of the show, one of the things that excites me about potentially getting involved with a bigger media organization is amplifying our voice. Because I've said to people all the way through, if we end up working with another group, and obviously I don't mean to play coy, but I'm not going to give any more details. But if we end up working with another group and they end up amplifying what we're doing, they will be buying into our product and what we're doing. We won't be tailoring. I mean, to be honest, if it's with a mainstream media, we may tailor our language a little bit. You might hear a few less cunts and fucks.
That's
I'm
why
okay.
I got out 4 in a row just before.
I'm
just
okay
to
with
get it
that.
out.
But I don't know that yet. That stuff hasn't been talked about. But the actual content will be our content, what we're already making. Because, you know, why would you come on board with someone who wants your stuff and then change your stuff? It's not so. So hopefully, Chewy, what I'm hoping is that we nail down this relationship. And as I said to people, I've got a meeting on Wednesday morning. Follow me on Twitter, and you'll find out what's been going on after I know. And this is not happening. These conversations aren't going on in media, let alone mainstream media. And I'm, without trying to sound arrogant, like we're the shit or anything. We're just a small cog in a very big wheel. But even the small cog isn't really being heard very much. And you know, I was listening to some talkback the other day. I talked about this last week too. I was listening to some talkback the other day, and I won't say who it was. It doesn't matter. But some fucking right-wing lunatic was talking about, you know, putting the tax back on the petrol and how it's going to add to inflation. And I'm like, look, I'm no expert, but inflation to me is too much money chasing around too few products.
That's not how that works.
How does and I actually texted in. One of the reasons I was doing it was because I'm doing some talkback for 2.5 weeks after Christmas, and I kind of want to get my brain back into it. So I've been listening to it a bit, and I just sat there thinking, look, no one's ever they're never going to hear this, but with the greatest of respect, this is the stupidest, lowest IQ, ridiculous talking points pablum with no initiative, no intelligence, no nothing. It's like a stereo. If you're making a movie about talkback radio, the first thing you do is put in some, you know, conservative right-wing pundits who say things that sound like they know what they're talking about, and it means nothing. And that's kind of what it sounded like. And I'm not saying that means we're better than them, but I'm saying that the voices that we're putting out there and the way we're putting them out there aren't being heard, like you say, Chewy. And I'm quite excited about the possibility of amplifying our reach. But, I mean, be honest, because we want to do more, but also for the voices that we get on to be heard more. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up talkback, right? So there's been a story bubbling away for the last couple of months of the national. I think she had the portfolio for agriculture or primary industries at some point, with an enormous conflict of interest that Luxon didn't know about, apparently, that she'd been harassing MPI over her was a brother or a son's animal cruelty charge or something like that. Now, here we've got the potential for someone to, like, I mean, they're not in government, but if she was, that is corruption. Like, that's a big story. So for someone that is interested in politics to jump on a politics focused radio station like News Talk ZB, right? Left or right, that's got to be a story. That's got to be something we're discussing, right? What was on that day as that story broke? Ram raids. Yeah. Everyone was talking about ram raids. That's the most important thing on News Talk ZB. People wearing hoodies, doing ram raids, happening everywhere. And yes, that is one issue, but it's the well that they keep going back to and it's so skewed. Yes, it is something that is happening. Is it happening to a degree that matches the amount of media coverage that it's getting?
No. And
No.
we did this the other day, the one every 15 hours based on numbers, and the media leading with that story. What they didn't lead with was there was 13 of them in November. So that's actually one every. So the story could have been dramatic reduction in number of ram raids, but no, the headline was ram raid every 15 hours. But actually that's not the current. And the other thing is it could lead with ram raids incredibly geographically isolated to parts of Auckland and Hamilton. That could be the driving factor as well. But no, it's like one every 15 hours in New Zealand. So it's just...
And the spokesperson that they're going to for the Dairy Owners Association or whatever it is a National Party guy. He's someone that's door knocking for National Party candidates. You know, maybe that needs to be acknowledged that this person is a spokesperson for the Dairy Owners Association of New Zealand. But this is also, you know, just so you've got some context to the fact that he seems to be hitting a lot of National Party talking points as he's talking about, you know, making things safer for the people that he represents. He's also got another horse in the race.
Mm.
That's important context for people to know, but we don't get it.
Right,
and that so fucks me off.
All right, let's have a look. Let's have a look at these names. The top 3 people that we talked about most of all this year. I'm going to go through the list first, then I'll give you a crack.
Yeah.
We'll just go through some of what people are saying. David says Luxon. Christine says Chantel Baker, that is. Gareth says James Hake was great. You obliterated him and he didn't notice. Jonty says Luxon, Uffindell, Trump. The thing about Uffindell, right, is a bit like Musk. It's not Musk is not one of the names. Is he was heavily covered, much like the Sharma drama, for a short period of time. But remember, this is talking about from February through to now. Who are the people who've been on most of all? Right?
No one put Sharma in there.
No, but there we go. Who else we got here? Ava says Plunkett. Mark says Sean Plunkett. Jack, sorry to spoil the party there. Jack says Elon. Peter says Jacinda Ardern, Chris Luxon, and Brian Tamaki. Simon says Luxon. I do it for you says Trump, Elon, Plunkett. And then Kristen goes, oh yeah, probably Plunkett. Most repeated phrase. All right, fair enough. Yeah, we walk and chew gum at the same time. Thank you. I know I go on a little bit, don't I? And then lots of positives to you. Such a good point, Chewy. I think people who haven't got media experience realize how daily journalism is geared towards sound bites and quotes. I think that there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots in there that we aren't going to get to. I'm just having a bit of a pre-read while we're doing them.
I'm just going to say, like, this is maybe unprofessional of me, but there has been a very good comment made by a very educated person in the chat. The onion of shit.
All right, Joey. Who are the three top names? Who are the most?
I'm going to say Plunkett.
Most common?
I'm going to say Plunkett because we went after him pretty hard, deservedly so. I'm going to say Trump, and third one's a tough one. I'm going to say, well, I was going to say Tamaki. Put him in there.
So you think that the people we've talked most about, the most number of times we've talked about stories, Tamaki's in there? That's what your thought is? The number of times? How many times have we talked about
him? Actually, no, that's a good point. Yeah, definitely it's going to be Luxon. We've only really touched on Tamaki a couple of times. So it's got to be Luxon.
So I didn't go, to be honest, I didn't go all the way back. I went back about 3/4 of the time, and it was very clear that it was Jacinda Ardern. Didn't anyone mention Jacinda Ardern with all those things? I don't know if they did. Did they? It's so funny. The Prime Minister of the country we talked about most of all. And the New Zealand story. Did we get any of those?
Okay. King's got Jacinda.
Jacinda Ardern and Christopher Luxon were number one, and then, you know, what do they call it? Distance was third, whatever that saying is. So they were way up the top, you know, like it was like first, second, and then eighth. You know, so it was Luxon and Ardern. Oh, Brian Bridges is a good guess. That probably was up there if we kept on going through. And then it was a Karen Plunkett. And then there was a bunch of people under that was quite close to Karen. But it was, you know, like Seymour was there, and like Ryan Bridges was there, and that sort of thing as well. Probably, I didn't look at this, but probably
Oh,
fair to
Ryan
say.
Bridge. Yes.
Well, the thing is, I
that would have been
didn't
a
see
good
too much of Ryan Bridge, but now that I think about it, quite often it was that we were talking about the AM show. That probably would be quite
one.
highly rated as well, as opposed to Ryan Bridge in particular. But yeah, that was certainly up there. So, but the three that came out on top were, like, as I say, Jacinda Ardern, Christopher Luxon, way, almost neck and neck, 1 and 2. And then massive gap. And then the leader of the pack of the rest of them by a smidge was Karen Plunkett. And then a bunch of other people as well, like Seymour, and who else was there? Helen? Like Seymour and Trump was in there, and Elon was in there. Yeah. So that little
Hey, Pat,
file.
quick question. I might regret this. Who's your internet provider?
My internet provider is Vodafone.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense.
What are you asking?
You are cutting out a lot for me at the moment. So I'm glad that you're with a competing company that I don't represent.
Okay. So many people in the chat, am I cutting out to you as well? Because if I'm cutting out to people in the chat, then it's definitely my end. If I'm cutting out to you, Chewy, maybe it's your end.
Oh, hoisted on my own petard. Hopefully not.
Maybe. But look, this is us for the year. You're welcome to final comments in the chat. If anyone wants to wrap up with anything they want to share in the chat, you're more than welcome. We are shutting down tonight. Scott telling us that when I'm not cutting out to them.
Oh no.
And I think that our plan will be to be back mid-January. I am starting some work with Today FM on the 27th of December, and I think I'm working through to about the 10th of January. So there you go, Jack. I just answered your question before you even answered it. And I'm working 12 shifts in 15 days. So I'm doing quite a stretch there, filling in for the radio station that are obviously taking a holiday break. So we won't be back here before the 10th of January, but I will be pretty much doing something like this every day. If you'd like to come and join me. I did have a thought about trying to live stream the talkback. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. But make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already, and make sure you follow me on Twitter. And if you do that, then you'll know what's happening not long after I know what's happening. Want to say a huge thank you to people who have come on board with our Patreon. There's I think 29 people who have offered us a little bit of support here and there, from kind of $5 through to $50. It genuinely really helps. It's $300 a month or something, which doesn't sound like a lot for people who are putting, I don't know, what are we putting in? If it's 1,500 hours over 8 months, what does that work out to be? 200 hours a month of work in?
Don't ask me to do maths, Pat.
But
it's the evening.
But when we download 3 months of it and you get $1,000 and it can pay some bills that help us do that, it is genuinely very, very helpful. We are genuinely appreciative of every $5 donation. We know that in this current climate where times are tough, people are struggling, that for some people it's not affordable, so you just enjoy. And for other people where it is affordable for $5 here or $10 here or $50 here, we genuinely appreciate it. It's a bit of a strange thing to come out of the commercial media world and then moving into a model of sort of, do you want to come on board and be part of the team? But we're learning as we go. I've got some ideas and some plans for next year for maybe more sponsorship and more income. The thing about the media collaboration that I'm talking about, that is not going to be an income stream for us necessarily. It's potentially going to be an amplification stream, which then hopefully will lead to an income stream, because obviously you'll appreciate if we've put 1,500 hours of work into this, between 1,000 and 2,000 hours of work into this, at some point it either needs to start paying some people, or it needs to become a hobby, and both of those options are there. I'm not being arrogant enough to say what this is going to be and where it's going to be at. Let me just say, hey, get on your bed, lie down, Struth. thinking you're allowed to walk around my studio. I'll teach you. Yeah, Chewy, what anything you want to wrap up? I kind of lost train of thought there because that stupid little
Oh, a couple of things. Like outside of the show, what I am. So I came into this year dealing with a whole bunch of shit, basically. And I'm coming out of it the complete opposite. For someone that has mainly worked retail for the last 20 years, I am going to be able to take some time off from Boxing Day through until mid-January. That has not happened for 15 or 16 years. And I am getting the fuck out of town. I am just going to spend time with people. I'm going to head down to the Catlins. I'm just not going to worry about anything. I'm just going to uncoil from whatever this year has been. As far as BHN goes, from something like I remember you calling me up because someone had recommended my name for this idea that you had of doing a news commentary show. And we had some very rough ideas of what it was going to be, and just to see that develop over the year into the product or the project that we have now has been great. I love being able to dissect these news stories and talk to people in the chat and get guests on and hear points of view that you aren't seeing in the mainstream media, all of that sort of stuff. I am fizzing to go into an election year with what we have built. Because that's where we're really going to have to judge people on their words and contrast what they're saying with their actions. I have to reflect on the fact that Leo Malloy cost me my main Twitter account, so maybe I might have to be careful about things that I say about political leaders. That's a nice smooth segue, just to say, hey, look, you can follow me on Twitter and Mastodon. The easy details there at Chewy_NZ on Twitter, or if you are on Mastodon, it's former child star at mastodon.nz. I know a couple of you guys follow me there. I apologize is all I can say about that. But yeah, really looking for next year, really hopeful for these things that you have got on the boil, Pat. That would if it pans out, it's going to be epic. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, and look, probably also a good time to say thanks to our other regular contributors. Jeremy Elwood, Penny Ashton, who have also been on board, and from me to you, Chewy, a big thanks, and to George as well. George is working tonight. He was going to try and be here. I'll show you something, Chewy. We were. This is, people may not be aware of this, but this is where we started. Yeah, when me and Chewy got together, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips here, so you can see the branding is not there. It wasn't actually called anything yet. Where this is where we started having a talk, like trying it, seeing what the situation was, seeing how it would work. And this was me and Chewy. I'll see if I can. I'm actually. Are you on this one as well? Oh, you are on this one, Chewy. Man, we should have a look at this. So this is previously to us actually doing it. You can tell because my my background.
Oh, you haven't got your shelf up, and I haven't got the coloured light bulbs.
No, and that's me probably 50 kilos heavier as well.
Oh, my room hasn't got all my kitchen in here.
So this so this was obviously we'd got enough of an idea to brand it BHN and that kind of stuff, but this was us. This was not even broadcasting live stream. This was just recording stuff and having a bit of a chat about the odd thing to test it out, to test what was the situation was. There's a better picture of me 50 kilos heavier, so I think it's quite noticeable. The problem is when you've got the
50,
beard, it's
50 kilos, man.
Yeah,
that's something.
Yeah. And so to you, Chewy, it's like, I've said this to you privately, Chewy, but I'll say it publicly as well. The best kind of teams are always people who you're real good mates with. I mean, if you think about radio, and I come out of radio in Auckland, so I think of Kim and Corbett, and I think of, Nick and Rog, and I think of, when Polly and Grant were together and married, people who make the best sort of teams in a broadcast thing are really connected, either good mates or like they're married. And whilst I would like to get into bed with you, I think the good mates thing is probably about as far as we'll go. I just don't want, if we get into bed together, the beards will, it's like, I'm not quite sure it'll like start a fire or something like that.
I know you're a transplanted Aucklander, so you haven't quite got the southern understatedness yet. But all we really need, like, is a good, like, the long staring into the eyes.
And this if I do this under if I do this, can you feel this? If I reach under the thing, can you feel that at all? No, in any way?
No, because
no?
That's not how the internet works.
Okay,
but yes, as I was saying, you stare deeply into their eyes, you go, good on you, mate. And good then just a wee tap on the bum. And that's it. That's the Southern man experience. It's fine.
Yeah, but listen, Chewy, you're someone whose background is trained in radio. In fact, you've got more radio qualifications than I do. I've got no qualifications in radio. You're trained in radio, and I think that probably, to be fair and without embarrassing you, you were probably questioning this and questioning how it would work and questioning how you would do. And you've been spectacular this year. You have such strengths thanks, where I have weaknesses. And I think that this is a really good team. Not to talk down any of the other relationships. I've known Jeremy, Elwood, and Penny for 20 plus years. But there's something about this which kind of excites me. When I'm talking to the media outlets that I'm talking to about this, I always direct them to the episodes with you and me on it and say, watch that, because I guess I want to say publicly, I really value your input into the show, and you are a quality broadcaster, and you have made this show sort of what it is, more so than any other host. I'll be blunt. Other hosts are great, but I think me and you together elevate this to a different place. And I'm really appreciative that you and Claire, I mean, Claire's a part of this. I've always said when you're doing this sort of thing, partners are involved because you're giving up time. And hopefully we'll be able to do something like this together next year in a slightly different model, but still doing the same thing that I personally are starting to nail. I think over the last month, there's been some episodes that I've come away from going, and I'm a really harsh critic of myself, but there's been some episodes that we've come away from and I've gone, fuck, that was a really good, that could play on any platform at any level. And I think a huge part of that is our relationship building, and a huge part of that is who you're growing to be as a part of this weird broadcasting thing that we're doing. So I just want to say publicly, thank you to you and to all the other people as well, but you're here tonight. Thank you to you, and we'll continue onwards and upwards, hopefully.
Awesome. Thanks, man. No, I really appreciate that. And the acknowledgement of Claire as well. There's been a couple of things where we've tackled some pretty big moral questions where she's been an excellent sounding board, I think, for both of us. Mm-hmm. And then there's been other times where she's gone, hey, maybe you should call Pat Patthew tonight and see what happens.
Yeah, because I'm easy to piss off, aren't I? Not. All right. So thank you to our patrons. Love you to bits. Every little dollar does help us at the moment. Thank you to our hosts and co-hosts. Thank you to our regular contributors. I'm thinking specifically of people like Robert Patman and Anna Brooks and, Susie Wiles and Michael Plank, and those people that have come back again and again and again. David Welsh, Michael Baker's been in there as well. Thank you to the politicians who have been with us numerous times. Martima Davidson's been in 2 or 3 times, as well as other Green Party members. Look, I don't know exactly what next year holds, how it's going to look exactly, but I am pretty confident that you'll see us again sort of middle of January. I'm not going to confirm any dates yet. People in the chat have been asking me about my radio work over summer. Today FM, lunchtime, 1 p.m. till 6 p.m. I think it is, pretty much every day. I'm doing one Sunday morning, and then other than that, it's basically every weekday from the 27th through to the 10th in the afternoons, doing it live out of Dunedin, which is going to be fun, actually. So I'll have a producer in Auckland and I'll be in Dunedin, trying to get those phones going, which I used to be good at, and haven't done it for 7 or 8 years. So we'll see if I've still got the ability to get those phones going. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Anything else? Any chats we want to get out there?
No, lots of people just saying have a good summer and that they've really enjoyed the show this year. Lots of regular names that we see, which is just great because I mean you can get big numbers and then all the different names. Nobody comes back. You guys all seem to come back and love it. Love it. You're all good people.
Yep. And I think that's us. I think we'll see you next year. Follow both of us on Twitter. I will be, and look, if anything does pop up over summer that needs commenting on, I may still jump in and do some bits and bobs. So make sure you're subscribed on the YouTube channel and follow me on Twitter. They're probably the two main places. We do have the Facebook page as well, but that's pretty inactive. Although we do upload the videos to there. And other than that, just thanks for being a part of the show, and have an amazing Christmas. And, remember that conversation around the middle ground for things like COVID. You don't have to completely just go, we've got no control, but equally you don't have to go and lock yourself in your basement for 6 months. There's an in-between ground. And if you value being COVID-free on Christmas Day, then just wear a mask between now and then when your risk factor goes up. Like if you're in public transport, Chewy, or if you're in the supermarket, or if you're, I don't know, there's probably no All Blacks games between now and Christmas. And if you're watching sports ball with 30,000 people, just think about what you value. And if you value Christmas Day more than, a free and easy session on Friday night at the pub, then just have one layer of precaution to look after yourself and those around you. And that's about it. I think we're done, Chewy. No, nice. We're done. Look, she's bailed on us. Look, see, she's gone.
Yep. That's the sign that's our time. Dog's gone. Run out of dog.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for being with us. We're done for the year. We'll see you in January. Have a great Christmas. Be safe, especially on those roads as well. Isn't it funny that we used to always talk about be safe on the roads? That was the Christmas message. And now it's like be safe around COVID. It's like it's totally...
Yep. Don't spit in each other's mouths.
Stop spitting in each other's mouths.
That's what we have to do.
All right, team. All the best. We'll see you. We'll see you in 2023. But keep an eye on those social medias because, as I said, anything big comes up across the summer period, we'll definitely comment on it as well. I certainly will, and we'll put some stuff out there. So take it easy. Be safe. See you next year. Hooroo.